That's OBS being. Oh, thanks. Yeah, appreciate. Thank you. Appreciate you, fucking piece of shit. Anyway, technical difficulties aside, episode 98, which, as we said before, precedes 99 and then 100.
Yeah, I'm just going to start over. Welcome to episode 98 of the Degenerates Clubhouse. Mondo,
What's up?
let's not dilly-dally.
No.
Let's not screw around.
Nope.
No fuckery. No tearing. Let's get right into Florida, man.
Something tells me that the podcast gods are gonna fuck with us, whether or not we like it or not. You know what I mean? Anyway, moving on.
Florida man, causing mayhem when he can. Driving drunk as a rule, alligators in his pool. Look out, here comes the Florida man. Oh,
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
One day that'll get old, but no time soon.
No. Like I said, it just it brings me back to like Scorpion. Anyway, Florida man who marooned himself on Lake Fountain says he took too much MDMA and wanted to be with the Swans.
Interesting. So I've never taken.
All right. Okay, but yeah. No, plants were moving around and I was like, "Oh, what the fuck's going on?"
Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to figure out how this guy went from like MDMA to I have to be with swans.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to get inside the mind of somebody tripping
Yeah.
and not having any experience with that myself. I was hoping perhaps you could provide some clarity.
No animals were talking to me. None of that weird shit. Just plants being goofy. But it would have been cool to have seen like, you know, there's people that say that trees start talking to them and shit, and fucking animals, all that. Never had those cool experiences. Anyway, a man who allegedly stole a swan boat and marooned himself on a fountain in the middle of a Florida lake told police he took a large quantity of MDMA and wanted to be with the swans that frequent the lake. According to Orlando police report obtained by Orlando Weekly, 36-year-old Kyle Thurston said he wanted to be with the swans because they don't judge him.
Jesus Christ. Is this so it's like this guy, it's just like his parents are like, you fucking, what was his name? Kyle Kyle Thurston. He's, you know what? That sounds just like super rich old money white guy. Kyle Thurston. And his parents are like, Kyle, you were a disappointment.
Wait, wasn't the guy from the Gilligan's Island?
Thurston Howell.
Thurston Howell. There you go.
Exactly.
So he wanted to be reliving his like great grandfather Thurston Howell and be marooned in an island.
There were no swans on Gilligan's Island.
No, I don't know. Was there an episode with swans? We don't know that.
I'm pretty sure. As the official Gilligan's Island historian of this podcast, I'm going to say that, you know, there were no swans in Gilligan's Island.
Dude, now I want to know if there's ever been an episode of Gilligan's Island where they take like hallucinogens or shrooms or something like that. That'd be a cool episode to see.
No, not on the show, but the writers, when they were writing the show, 100%.
Oh yeah,
They were on like Quaaludes and definitely some cocaine,
for sure.
probably a little LSD.
At about 4 a.m. Friday, Orlando police came to Lake Eola and found Thurston sitting on the fountain screaming for help. Police said Thurston forgot to tie up the swan boat and it drifted off while he was in the fountain.
So this poor guy, he's just, the world is against him. His rich highfalutin parents are disapproving. His girlfriend's like, Thurston, you fuck up. You can't you're not going to get your inheritance if you don't get your shit together. And he's just like, I want to go someplace where nobody judges me. My only friends, the swans. And then poor guy is communing with the swans at this fountain. And then his swan boat drifts off. I mean, this is a tragic story. This is like Shakespearean almost.
When he returned to where he thought the boat would be and realized it was gone, he sat down on the fountain and started calling for help, police said. Orlando police are following up with the rental boat company to see if any charges will be filed.
I mean, if you're the rental boat company, would you even dream of filing charges against this poor maligned soul?
You know what? If he went beyond his rental hours, yes, I would. I'd be like, wait a minute. He was trying out there for 6 hours. He
Well,
only
no,
had-
just but no. When they say charges, they don't mean like, are we gonna like bill you extra?
Yeah.
They mean like criminal charges.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is they're gonna try file punitive charges, and that's gonna be the hours that he was owed.
Yeah, no. Bill his daddy's American Express card that he paid for that Swan boat with.
Yeah.
For sure. But
Criminal charges?
I don't think you file criminal charges.
Nah, unless he like did something like weird in the Swan or did some damage to the.
I think even that look, if this Swan boat company starts filing criminal charges against everyone that's like high or messed up on drugs in their Florida Swan boat, I mean, I don't know if they can stay in business.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta cater to your clientele, and
Understood.
I think this guy really in the scope of all the Florida Man stories that we've covered, and the range of things that he could have done with or in or to that Swan boat, this was pretty mild.
Yeah.
He was tripping, and he tried to go hang out with his buddy the Swans and like make his own weird little Florida druggy Disney movie, and it didn't work out.
Starting a Swan cult and yeah.
He's gonna proselytize to them.
Ooh. So that was it for Florida Man for this week. Moving on to the world of Ask Reddit. Aaron, are you ready for question number 1?
Perhaps.
Have you been waiting 2 weeks because we've missed an episode for the return of this segment?
I mean, it's just keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
Just scrolling Reddit. Oh, which question will Mondo pick? I'm just trying to, so I'm ready. I'm excited.
All right. Question number 1. If you got a list of your statistic, would you be most curious about?
I thought long and hard for 4 seconds about this.
Okay.
I want to know, which would be possibly really depressing, was I want to know how many female peoples. I was gonna say
Ooh.
girls, women, whatever, but like I'm not gonna because this would range all the way from probably like high school through whenever I die. How many female persons were trying to like hit on me a little bit?
Trying to hit on you and you didn't get the clue, or just
Yeah.
trying to hit? Yeah, like the missed opportunities.
Well, not even miss, because there's you know what? Actually, you know what, Mondo, you're right. That's better, because there's definitely some. As I've gotten a little bit older and more worldly and less fucking stupid about
Mhm.
women, where like I do pick up on it, and maybe it wasn't something I could facilitate or whatever. But no, that's a good one. Just how many was I completely oblivious to?
Yeah.
And
My stat would be super high. It'd be like, I think I'd have like 90% missed opportunities. Like, like fucking.
but see that's the sad thing though, is like maybe I think it would be the number would be kind of high,
Yeah.
and then like I get the official stat, I'm like it's like 6. I'm like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
was that it? Was it? And now I'm realizing, oh, I said 6 because I was trying to pick like what I thought was just like a low number. What if it was like 3?
What if it was just 1?
It was none.
Damn.
And then you just get real
How
sad.
yeah.
I'm like I have to be dead, and now I'm depressed
That would suck.
because I thought I was just I thought it was because I wasn't ready to take advantage of it. No, it's because there was no advantage to be taken.
You go into death like with this huge ego, like, yeah, my number's gonna be fucking high, and then you fucking die. You find out your number is like 0 or 1. You're like, fuck.
God damn.
I had such a big dumb ego.
You know what? I retract that. It's just gonna be women hitting on me total.
Okay.
Because I know there's at least been more than one.
Yeah.
Could have been like 4.
I think that's a good one. Mine. I would want to know that stat as well. Can we only pick one stat? Is that the rule? Because I think there'd be a lot of stats I'd want
Yeah,
to.
throw whatever out you want.
So that would be one. The other one I'd want to know is how much money I quote unquote wasted on shit that.
Oh no, I
like,
don't want to know that.
You know what I mean? Like we all have hobbies or things like going out to eat and maybe spending like splurging. You know that I'd want to know how much money I literally like I could have gone without this thing. Excuse me. I could have done without this thing and saved my money instead. Like how many hundreds of thousands of dollars would I have otherwise had?
You know, it would be just a stupid, not depressing, just frustrating stat. How much money did I waste on video returns. 'Cause
Oh.
listen, Gen Zers who might be listening. Back in the ancient days, we didn't have like on-demand streaming video. You had to go to a physical brick and mortar store, and in the back they had just like hundreds and hundreds of VHS tapes. This
And
was
DVDs, VHS when the technology got there, but yeah.
and you there would be like boxes or like little tags in front, and you would take the tag and you'd give it, to the clerk at the front counter, and they'd go in the back and bring you like a physical tape. You'd watch it, and then you had to return it. And the thing was, they so whatever you'd pay, was it like $5?
Let's just say it was $5 for a movie
for a day or 2 days.
The new ones would be like $5 for a day, and then once they got older, you could have them for like a week for the same price.
Which was the week was the real slippery slope, though.
Yeah, because you'd forget what day of the week.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing was, they would just keep fucking billing you.
Yeah.
So if it was $5 for a week and you had it for 4 weeks, then they're like, okay, $20. And if you just forgot that tape under your bed and you had it for a year, I'm dead honest. I think the worst I ever had was like a $200 bill. And
on one movie, on one
movie.
title that was due, that was past due.
And I think my decision, because I was like, what do you? I could have just bought the movie for a fraction of that, and they're like, well, this is, you had the blah blah. I was like,
yeah, it's on the contract.
And I was like,
it's your membership.
I think I'm just never gonna rent here again. Bye. Like, sorry.
I don't know, man. I'm very fond of that experience of going to the movie place and renting a movie, and then I'd buy some stuff, and then I'd pick up fucking dumb snacks, overpriced, like a tub of popcorn for like $10 when you can get 3 for $10 at the store. Like, it was just,
It
I don't
was
know.
fun.
Yeah.
How did you actually choose movies? Did you have like a method? Because there's no Rotten Tomatoes back then.
Yeah, I never. Yeah, for me it was walking through like literally all the new release section first. That was the first place you'd go to. Go to the new releases, and then you'd go A to Z. But they weren't. They would be categorized by genre. So it'd be like a horror section, this section. I would go through all of them in the new releases, and I would never really go to the old movies. It was always like new.
I would do a little bit of both, just like you. But and a lot of it though for me was just the box cover.
Sometimes it was like word of mouth. Like you heard this movie was good.
For sure. But I remember those times though going. We had kind of ironically in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the store that we went to most was called West Coast Video for some reason.
it's Philadelphia, PA. Nice.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a huge chain. I don't think we ever had like a Blockbuster or anything that we went to. And yeah, we'd go to West Coast Video, and I remember trips where like I had no idea. There wasn't like a new movie I'd heard of that I wanted to see, and it was just like looking at the box covers.
Yeah.
And I will never let my mom live this down. I'm looking, and I like pull out a movie. My mom's like, "Oh yeah, like that's a fun movie where these guys get chased down a river, like on a camping trip." And I was like, "Oh cool, I'll watch that." And the movie was Deliverance.
Yeah.
I was like, "What the fuck, Mom?"
Yeah.
Not cool.
Let's see what some of the Redditors have had to say about that question. User Aramara M writes, "How many photographs taken by other people I'm in?" I bet you'd be like in the background of a fuck ton of photos. User Proto-Blitz writes, "Deaths indirectly responsible for." That'd be I don't know.
Oh no.
That's like some butterfly effect shit. Like, oh yeah, your life resulted in like 17 people dying. User Intelligent-Spells writes, "How many people I was attracted to were also attracted to me and had no idea." That's kind of along the same lines as your answer, more or less. Last one I'll read. User Altruistic_Dust123 writes, "Where all my lost things went, and how many times I was this close to running into a person I knew." All right.
Stop calling me my health condition. I can't. I can't take this right now.
Uh-oh. We can always, anyway, if we had to pause, we can always pause. Ask Reddit question number 2. Drum roll, please. Redditors, what are your most interesting roommate stories?
Okay.
Okay. I like how you have to brace yourself. Okay.
There's a lot, man. I've lived in some weird we're gonna say suboptimal living arrangements. And we were talking before we started the pod. I think I did tell the Kenny Bowman story where our room at Whittier College got raided by, I think it was the police.
Yeah, it had to have been at least PD and for sure campus PD, 100%.
But I think I told that one, so I'm gonna jump a little bit forward to a second one.
Okay.
So when I first got the head coaching job in Pennsylvania, it was really late. They hired me late. I didn't start until September. So like classes had already started, the students were already moved in, and the number of places that were available was severely limited, right? Because most of them had been rented out. It was largely a college town, and on top of that, the university did not pay any moving expenses. So I'm like broke as fuck. Plus, there's not that many places, and so I ended up renting this A-frame cottage, and it had been obviously designed to be like a little like resort area where you'd go and you'd stay in these A-frames.
I thought you were going to say it was designed to be a Wiener Schnitzel.
That would have been dope. I would have been more sanitary than the place I was living in. But it was what I'm getting at were these cottages were never meant to be lived in long term. They're supposed to be. You're supposed to be in there for like a couple days,
like a rental cabin or something like that. You go in there for a few days and check out.
And they were also kind of designed in like halves, so it was split down the middle by one dividing wall. So there was like two units where you were butted up with a neighbor, right? And for whatever reason, probably because they're kind of dingy and gross and whatever, I guess they just were not making money as short-term rentals, so they're like, well, we'll try to make them long-term rentals. And it was a weird collection of people that ended up living there. And I remember when I moved in for the first 2 weeks, it was really actually chill because it was nice. It was fall, the weather was good, and I did not have any neighbors. And then these like two, I don't know if they were hippies or like meth heads. There were drugs involved. And they were definitely older, like somewhere I would say like mid 50s to like late 60s. Like
how much was rent? How much was rent there?
$700 a month,
and that was for like your half of the A-frame.
Yes.
Okay, so basically the landlords were making $1,400
per unit that was rented. Correct. And so like these like old kind of druggies, like you could tell like their faces were weathered. They had not
well, hard drugs drugs and alcohol like really age you a ton, like a lot.
So is that this couple moved in the same unit, and then like right across the way there was a woman who was I think like a little bit younger than I was, and I forget, it was like I think she was like a quote unquote massage therapist.
Oh,
and I was like, are you though? What are you?
Yeah.
And the two things that just stuck out in my mind. I've set this up. There isn't as much of like a full story arc. Was I still remember just being horrified the one day because for like a week after the hippie couple moved in, things were pretty chill, and then I just start like constantly hearing like.
So they're fucking.
And I was well at first I was like, what is that? I swear to God, I was definitely just a little bit more naive, and I was like, are they just like working out? Like, do they have an exercise machine?
Can I ask you, was the female in the couple relatively attractive? No, not even like beer goggles attractive.
No,
really?
No.
I was gonna say because if she was, and I would hear that noise, dude, I would close my eyes and like imagine her and like just fucking beat off to that sound of that fucking
grossly horrific like. The point I'm like, I can't. No, this mental image is not okay right now.
That sucks.
And I remember like I was trying to figure out how to like soundproof the wall, or I'm like I can't.
Paper wall.
I cannot say. Oh, it was super thin. I mean,
did you hear moaning at all, or just the bed?
No, it was just the.
Oh, okay.
Because I think they were trying to be quiet.
Yeah.
Or they were just old and they really couldn't.
Yeah.
couldn't get down. And the other one though, the other night I remember, like I'd never really hung out with the girl that was, like I said, she was probably like late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But like we talked in passing, and then one night, she just like shows up and like knocks on my door, and she's like, hey, like, do you want to fuck? And
Yes.
I'm just, yeah, no, I wasn't like that excited because again, she was not super attractive, and also there were just weird, sketchy vibes all around,
Mhm.
but especially from her. And then there was like a pause, and I didn't immediately answer, and she's like, "Or do coke?"
Oh shit. Was she kind of like a druggie herself, or was
Yes.
she? Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know, man. If some chick were to be, I mean, if she was like a 6, 7, like for sure 7. If she's like a 6, maybe even a 5, and she was like direct to me and said, "Hey, we're just gonna bang," I'd be like, "Yes, let's go."
So there were a couple things involved in that. One, maybe if you're being really generous, she was a 5.
Oh, okay.
But like not like grossly, horrifically unattractive.
Uh-huh.
There's that. 2, there was the Violet's trying to get on the mic.
Violet. Where is she?
She's on the couch.
Oh yeah, degenerates. What? That's my new fucking little. I
Dog.
want to say the B word.
Dog.
My little brat. I want to say the little Violet.
Come here.
Anyway, I got a new puppy.
But just to put a bow on that story, there was the attractiveness. There was the fact that she immediately followed that up with do cocaine.
Yeah.
Because she definitely looked strung out while she was asking.
Anyway, what I was saying before OBS decided to fucking take a shit was that when I lived in Bakersfield, we went to this one girl's, like, she had a house, and it was like, we get there, and it was 2 super hot. Well, one of them was like a 7 or an 8, and the other one was like maybe a 7. But we bumped into these chicks at a beer festival. We ended up going to their house, and we're like, first thing is like, how does this chick afford this big house, like multi-car? She had like 3 or 4 dogs, like big, beautiful. How do you afford it? And like, come to find out that like her husband or boyfriend or fiance is questionable. I don't know which one of it was locked up in jail. We're like, sign number 1. Sign number 2 is that these chicks were like, they'd sneak off to the side, like, you know, like some houses have like a side hallway type of thing where they keep your trash bins and that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So these chicks would go into this hallway like every half hour, 45 minutes or so, and they were like doing some drug. So all that hotness stuff aside, or attractiveness or willingness to want to bang them chicks, went to like 0 when I saw that they were like kind of doing all them weird druggy things. But anyway, they weren't my roommates. I try to think of an interesting roommate story that didn't necessarily like throw these former roommates under the bus, so to speak. So I'll just leave it like short and simple. I had a roommate that was going through some shit emotionally and maybe financially, I don't know, but he would like, I'm forgetting the sequence of how this would happen. Like, he had issues sleeping, so he'd go like to McDonald's at like 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, okay, get a bag of food, like not like, and just mind you, this is food for just himself, a bag, like, or several bags of food, like multiple breakfast sandwiches, multiple this, multiple that, you know, I don't know how many, you know, and I think the idea was that bag of food was to feed himself for the whole day. So it was like a bag of McDonald's per day, every day.
Oh no.
And again, he was going through he was probably going through some shit for sure. And the thing is, it's like one of those kind of shitty cycles where when you eat like shit, you start feeling like shit, both physically and without you knowing it. Like, the chemicals in your brain don't work the same when you're not in some moderate level of fitness. I'm not saying you got to be a super athlete, but all this stuff just keeps kind of going and repeating itself and making you feel worse and worse and shittier. And
Well, I think I don't. This is bro science, 100% bro science. So I put that disclaimer on it. But I feel like we're kind of wired to get like our brain gives us like these little dopamine hits. It's like, good job, like you fed yourself. We're not gonna die. You got nutrients. Like that's good. So you eat food and it's like almost like you feel like you accomplished something. Like because that's how we're wired. We have that like food drive of like, yeah, like I ate food. Like I'm not gonna die. That's great. But when like everything else is shitty and you can't then move on to doing the other things, you just get stuck in that cycle of like, oh, I want that little food dopamine hit, and you get like addicted to not even the actual food or the taste, just that feeling of like, oh, I fed myself good. Like I will live on. I did something productive.
Yeah, and it was a weird point, I'm sure, in his life. He's doing a lot better now. He's married. I think married, has a kid. So good for him. He's in a better place. But yeah, it was just a weird.
Were you there when Morgan Spurlock came to Whittier College?
No.
That is the guy who did the Super Size Me documentary.
Yeah, I know who. Yeah.
No joke. I watched that and then basically just stopped eating fast food. Like I was eating it really regularly because it's everywhere in California.
Yeah. Well, and everywhere in the States, if you think about it, really.
That is actually not. There is fast food anywhere you go, but not to the level of California. There's places where there's like maybe like one or two.
Yeah.
But in California, there's like 5,000 different fast food chains, and just everywhere you turn, there's one.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like most metropolitan cities, but SoCal is pretty bad. I mean, it was pretty bad. But
do you ever stress eat?
Not so much. You know what it is? I don't stress eat. But when I have a good day or I feel like super accomplished for something,
you use it as a reward.
Then I reward myself, and I may go get like an ice cream or not. What are those things called? The Blizzard from Dairy Queen. I was gonna say Frosty Queen. So like if I like, fuck yeah, like I feel like I deserve, or maybe like if I had a phenomenal last month, like the company or the branch that I work at. Best month ever by any sales guy ever. So I was like, I got to treat myself. I didn't do anything to pat myself on the back yet, but I was like, I deserve sushi. And that's what goes through my mind is like, I'm getting a fat paycheck next month, so I'm going to fucking go and have a good time at a sushi restaurant, have a good meal, like drink maybe one too many beers. But no, I don't do it.
That's a much better way to do it, though. I think it's the other way that can be a slippery slope of like, oh, I had a really hard day. I had a really bad day. I'm really stressed. I'm going to eat this because it'll make me feel better.
Lately, fortunately, and I don't, I'm not in the best physical health right now, but lately it's been like, if I have a stressful day, sometimes I don't even have an appetite in the evening. I get home and like I eat like a fucking soup, and that's
kind of good in a way.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, like there was one point because like I don't think we talked about it in the podcast, but like my knee's been all fucked up, so I wasn't exercising as much, and I realized, oh, like I put on like a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
Like I mean not a ton, like 5 pounds maybe.
Yeah.
But for me that's weird because my weight hardly ever fluctuates at all, and I was just like, oh no, fuck this. Like even if I can't work out the way I want to, I can just calorie restrict. So I for I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 weeks, I was eating like very minimal calories. I was trying to work out as much as I could. Dropped a lot of weight. I got like super shredded in like a month.
Yeah.
And then with everything going on with construction and the house and this and that, I was getting super stressed. And I just definitely started stress eating a ton.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no, it's all back. That whole...
You have the engine that probably not the same as it was in college, like Whittier College, but your tummy, your metabolism can... because you keep yourself in pretty damn good shape compared like to me and like average dum-dum that doesn't.
Well, the other part though is I was eating 1,000 calories a day,
which is
less.
very low. That's like less than recommended for like a female.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's extremely low. I mean, and then on top of that, I was still like I couldn't, like I said, I can't work out really hard, but I was still trying to go hiking, and I was trying to burn 3,000 calories a day and only eat 1,000.
Wow,
which is tough.
Yeah,
but you can drop weight very fast if you do that.
That's how you lose weight is burn more calories than you take in.
Yeah, No, my dumb ass I looked at it, I'm like, oh, you lose 1 pound per 3,000 calories in deficit.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, oh, I'll just do 1,000 calories a day, and then
yeah,
in like a few weeks I'll have not the ideal way to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, that I guess that's one of the many. Those are some of the many roommate story. Back to the roommate stories question on Reddit. User Truth and Lies writes, my South Korean roommate in college played StarCraft well into the night. We're talking like I'd be getting up to go to class and he'd be logging off.
Yeah, obviously.
It cured my insomnia. Listening to a game in a language I didn't understand was very soothing, apparently. And I went from taking 3 or 4 hours a night to fall asleep, if I would at all, to falling asleep within 30 seconds of laying my head down.
This dude needed Korean StarCraft ASMR.
Yeah. User Dr. Landing Strip writes, my roommate in college claimed he was involved with the mafia. He was constantly sweaty, was very jumpy, and always had a lot of cash in his car. He was never around on the weekends, and I never saw him drink. Strangest of all is that he never once slept in his room. He was always on the couch by the door. He eventually told me that if it was because if someone ever broke into the room looking for him, he wanted them to find him right away so no one else would get hurt. Oh, I get it. I still don't know if he was telling the truth, but nonetheless, I always lock my bedroom door at night.
It's funny. I had a friend that anytime we were in a restaurant, he would always sit so he was positioned facing the front door.
Yeah.
Just in case. And he didn't no claims of being in the mafia or anything like that. But that's a habit I picked up from him. I do that now too.
That's just like a lot of like law enforcement and even like former military people like have. I don't know for a fact that this is a thing, but I think that there's some part of their training that they follow the same logic. Like they don't like back to the open door, kind of look where all the exits are, kind of shit. Like they're always kind of scoping shit out.
What's the Marine one? Be polite, be professional, and always have a plan to kill everyone you meet.
Ooh, that's a cool one. I wish I had that. Last one I'll read for that. User 2 Lee Huhat. When he skipped out on rent and moved while I was at work, he left behind some of the most interesting porn I've seen. He was into amputees and urine.
Oh no.
He also,
amputee porn?
It's called nugget porn, dude. You didn't know that?
I did not.
Yeah, it's like there's one that I know of, at least one or two like nugget girls out there where they have both no arms or no legs. And I've never seen it. I've seen still images. Let's just be clear. I've never seen actual porn, but I know they're out there. Anyway, this guy's roommate also vomited on the carpet, never cleaned it up, and ate through. I didn't get my deposit back. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, I think it's easy to talk shit about, and we didn't really talk shit about former roommates, but I'm wondering, I know there's been a couple stories that people can tell of me of like fucking Mondo was a shit fucking roommate, and I'm not too proud of some of those, but oh well, it is what it is. We're gonna wrap up the episode with discussing what's it fucking called? Rings of Power. Aaron,
correct. In this edition of Binge or Purge, we're gonna discuss Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. Or Prime Video rather. This is possibly the most expensive show ever made.
Yeah.
They spent north of $700 million on it.
It's ridiculous.
So first on that, do you think based on that just ungodly production budget, do you think it was well spent? Does the show look good?
So, kind of not directly answering your question. I was watching. I was. Well, let me tell you. So I was watching this third episode this morning, and I was like, "Fuck, this is a cool show. The story's being told pretty well. I like how they're going from like one character to another character to all this stuff is going on." And I'm like, the thought crossed upon my head. My little slow brain was like, how fucking spoiled we are. Like we really take for granted all the cool shows that come out. Like even some of the shittier shows out right now, like She-Hulk and all this stuff. Like if you look at it, like just from a bigger perspective, like fuck, the technology makes all this shit look fucking awesome.
TV. If you compare the shit shows now compared to like the best shows of like 30 years ago,
yeah, there were sitcoms that were
just terrible.
Yeah, like
terrible.
Just quality, the storytelling, the writing, the character dialogue, all this shit was just like, there are always going to be nostalgic shows. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's shows that are older that are like just shit production.
Look, Alf was a hit show. Okay,
right.
with like the terrible writing, the janky like a janky puppet.
Yeah,
that was a hit.
So what I was getting at was like watching this show, I was like, I really did take a step back and was like, man, we really are spoiled. We don't appreciate how fucking good these shows are, just in production value alone. So to answer your question indirectly, like, no, the fucking the writing, the storytelling was, and I don't know any of this stuff.
I'm not even asking. I'm just purely like the visuals, like the production.
Yes. I really appreciate everything going into the production value of it. I really feel lost. I feel immersed. You know, that's when like people play. When you watch a movie or when you play a video game or something like that, you want to be immersed in what's going on. You don't want to be distracted. You don't want to be looking at your phone. Right now, our attention spans are very fucking short. Or like if a show is boring, we pick up the phone, we look at. We just have to be stimulated like by multiple things. But with this show, I felt myself very entranced, very like lost in what the fuck was going on. So yeah, I think the money was very well spent.
Well, and just to be clear. I never thought of doing this before. I just looked up the gross domestic product of countries in U.S. dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So this shows the single season's budget was $200 million more than the gross domestic product of Sierra Leone.
That's the diamond place, right?
Correct.
In Africa.
Also $200 more than the Central African Republic.
$200 million.
$20 million more than the GDP of Chad. $20 million more than the GDP of Liberia.
So you're looking at just African countries.
Once you get I was kind of sad. I was just looking at the countries with the lowest GDP, and that yes, they're all African countries. That's just how it worked out.
They spent a fucking metric buttload ton of money into this, and my opinion as a consumer is that it's very well spent. It's one of those shows that the production alone was like, man, it just is easy to get lost in the.
Well, and there's some parts where like there's a sequence in Numenor, which is like this island haven of sort of like advanced humans, and there's one establishing shot, right, where you're just kind of seeing like a bird's eye view of this island. So it's all 3D modeled. And I'm looking at it. I mean, it was so incredibly complex and detailed.
Yep.
Just one shot. I'm looking at it. I'm like, although that probably took somebody like a team like 6 months to do this one fucking shot, and that was it. And then you never see it again.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're like, all right, like here's your 100 G's for this one 3-second shot that we're gonna do.
And I think now. When the first CGI anything ever came out, we remember how cheesy it was and how unlifelike it was. And to see the stuff now, like the computer generated everything, it's leaps and bounds from where it used to be.
Although I think the CGI from the Lord of the Rings trilogy still holds up pretty well.
It was pretty good. I mean, stuff from like the Matrix still kind of sort of holds up as well. So there's a lot of movies that do a good job of like.
Well, in both those movies though, they did a lot of practical.
Yeah,
and the funny part is I still think it's the best
mix
when there's a lot of practical, which they, to their credit, they did a lot of that in the show.
Yeah.
You could like so many of the costumes. There's I'm like, oh, they just built that town. There's like a small town of humans.
Yeah,
and I'm watching them like, is this CGI? I'm like, no, I think they actually just built this entire town.
Yeah,
just like we'll just build a town, no problem.
No, they do a bang up job.
So that's a positive.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I do feel like there's some negatives in the actual storytelling.
Okay.
So there's a couple things. This aspect of sort of Tolkien lore was never written as a story. He wrote this whole history just so he knew everything that happened leading up to the Lord of the Rings.
Right.
But he didn't write it as like an actual narrative story where it's like, these are the characters, here's the arc you're following. He basically wrote it like a fantasy history textbook of his land. So they're trying to take that and adapt it. And one of my complaints is I feel like the show's a little all over the place. There's a lot of different storylines.
Yeah.
Like some of them I don't feel like are even necessary or as interesting. So okay, so for example,
There are multiple storylines
four,
going on. Yeah.
four in the over the first 3 episodes. There's
it's-
4 storylines.
It's hard to grasp like what is where and like where are, so
Yeah, they try. So when they try to transition from one storyline to the other, sometimes they'll kind of pull out and give this
The
view
map.
of a map.
Yeah.
Like a CGI map and trying to show motion. But it's like, wait, what? Where is that? Hold on, because it happens very quickly. So just touch on the 4 storylines. Storyline 1 is Galadriel, and people are like, "Oh, we know her from the Lord of the Rings. She was who was it? Kate Blanchett."
yeah.
And like, "Oh, it's young Kate Blanchett, and she's like a badass warrior, and she's trying to." That out of all the storylines, to me, this was the most uninteresting. And
Really?
I felt like she's the worst character in the whole show so far.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, I think unfortunately I think this is going to be, and this is personal. This is my opinion. I think elves just are not particularly interesting main characters because they're elves. Like they're like immortal and they're kind of above all it, and elves are a little bit snooty, a little bit stuck up,
Yeah.
and like so for me, an elf is not a particularly relatable character.
Yeah.
And Galadriel, she's just hell bent. She's like, oh, like the big bad guy, like Sauron, like he's still out there. We got to find him. And she's a terrible leader. I think that was established in the first episode. Would you agree with that?
Kind of reckless. I wouldn't say terrible, but reckless. She's single-minded in her objective, and she gets reckless along the way.
She's leading this little force of elves looking for Sauron, and the elves are like, "Hey, Galadriel, maybe let's like pump the brakes. Like we want
Yeah.
to go home. Hey, this isn't cool. Hey, you're getting kind of psycho. Like we've been out here in the frozen Arctic forever." And she's just like, "Shut the fuck up. I'm gonna go find Sauron." Not great leadership qualities.
Yeah, like I said, I think she's just reckless.
And one, she's also just not listening to anyone in her charge, like you said, single-minded. And the other part, which is a little bit annoying, is they keep trying to do these tense moments with her. We're like, oh no, is the big monster gonna kill her? And we're like, no, Rings of Power. We know she's in the fucking trilogy.
Yeah.
We know she makes it. Like you can't.
Yeah. It's hard to build like suspense and danger situations for a character is going to live through it. Like, yeah, I get you.
So I would have just cut that whole thing out. I don't think any of her story really needs to be on screen, to be honest. But fine, maybe they'll turn that around. They'll make it more important because it does seem like there's some things are being set up. The second storyline so far is Elrond. Oh, Elrond, he's also from the Lord of the Rings. He was in Rivendell, played by Hugo Weaving, who was in The Matrix. Oh my God, it's all coming together, Mondo.
Mm-hmm.
And so far the storyline is Elrond trying to get subcontractors.
Yeah.
Like, the elves want to embark on a big building project, and he's like, we need subcontractors. We can't, so they're trying to hire dwarves, which
I don't know. I don't know what they're trying. If they're definitely trying to develop each storyline, and they're probably going to tie and or weave together. So I don't really know. It's good that we're kind of clueless as to what they're kind of building towards. You know what I mean? Like right now, all this stuff with Galadriel and with Elrond might seem very insignificant, but maybe there's a payoff at the end of the season where we're like, oh, okay, that's why they fucking were doing. That's why we're telling these stories.
I know enough of the Tolkien lore to know what the Elrond story is leading to, so I will not spoil that for you.
Okay.
But that's another thing where it's like you don't have to include everything, right? Like, because I think one of the great things about the Lord of the Rings that really made it work was the entire story was grounded in the perspective of the hobbits, right? There's all this like huge crazy stuff happening, and you don't see a lot of it. You're seeing it. You're not seeing like Gandalf go off to like try to hunt down information on that. Like Gandalf, you see the hobbits, and Gandalf goes off, and you don't know where he is, and you know what's going on, and all of a sudden there are these people showing up in the Shire, and you know what I mean? It's like, and that really kind of puts you in the middle of like, you're just like a regular, I mean, in a hobbit's case, you're just a regular half person, like just going about your business, and oh my God, all this crazy stuff's happening, and you get thrust into the middle of it. Whereas I think it would actually detract from it if you kept jumping from like the Hobbit's perspective to Gandalf's perspective. Like we don't know what the elves are doing.
Yeah.
As a race during the whole of the Lord of the Rings, because it doesn't really matter. You just you that stuff can all happen off screen.
Yeah, I think I don't find so far any of the two points of view perspectives. They don't take anything away from me. But as a clueless, never like have no background in this. What was that thing called? Silmarillion or
Yeah, this Silmarillion.
So I don't no knowledge of the history of the world of Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth, all that stuff. I'm not like discouraged by these different stories. I just wish they made it clearer. Like Lord of the Rings did Game of Thrones did a pretty good job of and if you're paying enough attention, when you're watching the opening credits, it rolls through like the different parts of so they're basically telling you, okay, there's going to be a part of the story that takes place here. There's going to be a part of the story that takes place here, and they kind of show it on this map. And so it kind of makes it, when you're watching it, you understand where the distance. And for my dumb brain, when things are kind of categorized like that, for me, it makes it easier to understand what's going on. I just don't think that with the show they did a good enough job to explain this stuff is happening here, this stuff is happening here, and simultaneously, or what part of the time and all that. They don't do a good job there. I think they try, but they don't succeed in trying to do that.
Yeah, and I do find it a little bit jarring though when they jump from like Galadriel's perspective to their, and we'll get to that storyline in a second, but there's a storyline with they're sort of I've been jokingly calling them proto hobbits.
Yeah.
But they're sort of like nomadic, early hobbits.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
It's just such a weird tonal shift where it's like, oh, I'm the high, powerful elf, and how dare you? And it's like, oh, hi, I'm a little proto hobbit, and I'm just walking through it's such a weird perspective shift for me.
Yeah. So you're talking about the Heartfoots, and there is a name. The specific family I thought we were talking about was the Brandyfoots. So there's the Heartfoot is like the name of the, I guess you'd call them the class of race or whatever.
They're people.
Like Aaron says, proto hobbits, sort of, kind of, not really hobbits, but the specific family is the Brandyfoots.
Wait, Brandy? That's a name that was in the Lord of the Rings. There was the Brandy Bucks. Oh my God, is this an early? Okay, all right, Rings of Power, fucking settle down. Well, you know what? And since we're on that, I actually so far to me, their storyline is one of the more interesting ones.
The Heartfoots.
And it was not there was nothing about Heartfoots in the Silmarillion at all.
Right.
That's something they just threw in there. They're like, oh, we're doing a Lord of the Rings thing. We gotta have some sort of hobbits in there, right? People want hobbits. And there's a little bit of a mystery involved. They're a little bit more. I mean, they're kind of goofy, but then again, so are hobbits.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, what's going on? How are they going to tie into all this? These little Heartfoots and their best friend that fell from the sky. Who is he?
Yeah, it's kind of a similar setup, more or less, than, like you said, in the Lord of the Rings. You have the hobbits as this pure, innocent, very naive. Very the world. Their world is very small.
Yes.
To them, their land is very small. So the same thing with these Heartfoots is they're basically a tribe.
They're gypsy hobbits.
Yeah, they're gypsy hobbits. They don't stay in one place. They move. Their thing in this third episode. What was it? It was never stray from the pack, never go off to the woods on your own, or some shit like that. I forget what their little.
Yeah, it was from the path.
Something
they had their little migratory path they follow, and it's don't ever go off the path. Don't go out in the world. Just stick with our little thing. Keep moving, and that is it. That is a point of conflict. Is that if you can't keep up, they just leave you behind. I'm like,
yeah,
it's fucked up, little Heartfoots.
Yeah. They're brutal little fuckers.
Yeah, I mean it's like, yay, we're all family and togetherness, and no, we'll just leave your ass if you.
Yeah, you can't keep up.
You twist your ankle. All right, you're dead. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a wonder that they survived long enough to evolve into hobbits. Who knew? But so far I've been enjoying that storyline.
Yeah.
Especially since there is a little bit of a mystery in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last storyline is about like an elven sort of scout sentry, who's been in this elven post, like watching over.
He's a real dreamy. He's a real dreamy elf.
Is he dreamy? You think he's dreamy?
His dreamy eyes, and he's strong but silent, and I think that's.
But also socially awkward. I enjoy that aspect of him.
Yeah,
because he
falls in love with. Well, I want to ruin it, but he's.
No, there's a little elf human love romance going on.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because elves are immortal, and he's gonna look exactly the same, and then she'll be an old woman. But that whatever. But I do think that was actually a nice touch there, because they've in two places I think really dealt well with some of the downsides of being an elf.
Yeah.
Right, because like he's the strong, silent. I mean, we've seen that in like Lord of the Rings, like the trilogy, like Legolas, like highly competent. He can knock an arrow and like hit a perfect bullseye every time, blah blah blah. But it's like, okay, what if you have that sort of elf archetype, and then he's trying to like interact with people and just do basic social things, and he's trying to explain that like he's got a hard on for this human.
Yeah.
Not so good at it.
No.
little bit awkward.
Yeah.
And
so
how did you find this storyline as compared to the other ones?
Again, I think that I think all four are going to, cross over into each other's story. Like it's not. They're not going to stay separate. And
they'll converge for sure.
They're going to converge and maybe weave one with another, and then go separate ways. And then this is gonna. So the thing is, they're all leading towards some big payoff. I don't know. So I don't know enough about the show if it's intended to be a multi-season show,
or
if it's going to be like a one and done type of deal. If it's a multi-season show, there's definitely going to be a lot more new characters brought in. I'm foreseeing like there's going to be characters that we grow and love to die. Like there's going to be that kind of shit. I don't think we'll ever see any Lord of the Rings fucking like in like Game of Thrones and other shit, which is a tragic. I'd like to see an elf fuck a human.
Well, that's crazy, Mondo. That was actually how I wanted to wrap this up. But hold on.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Okay, let's get to that in a second. But I do want to address what has been a major controversy surrounding the show. People have gotten really pissed off that there's like interracial. Okay, so to be clear, they're the races in the show, dwarf, human, blah blah blah. But they're basically upset that there are actors of color playing elves, playing dwarves. They're like, that's not what it was like in the books and blah blah. It's like,
is that really a thing? Like
yes.
in real life in the United States?
Yes, actual people are pissed off that there are like black elves and black dwarves.
Dumb. That's fucking dumb.
That was my feeling too.
That's fucking silly.
Silly to the point where it's like they're like, wait, we can believe that there's magic and like a guy can fall from the sky.
I'm waiting for. Look, how about this? I'm not offended at all. I think it's fucking awesome. What the bone I gotta pick is I haven't seen any Mexican fucking elves. What the fuck? Step your game up, Amazon. Fucking Jeff Bezos. Fix your shit.
I mean, I feel like the Mexicans would be dwarves more. They're very hardworking, industrious. They're laborers.
No. Well, I think if there were Mexicans in Middle Earth, we'd probably be more Hobbit-ish.
There's just
like just having a bunch of kids and shit, and like living in one little tiny fucking. 100% Mexicans are hobbits in the Lord of the Rings.
You don't foresee like a bunch of dwarves like pickaxing in the mines, and then there's just like four of them like sleeping on the side.
No.
Like, what are you doing? They're like, hey, siesta, man.
No.
We'll mind the word later. No. You think Mexicans? There was one Asian hobbit.
Was there?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't remember. Maybe there was. That's kind of cool.
But this is the part where I'm trying to think exactly how to word this. Because I also, particularly with the elves, I thought the casting of dwarves was like perfect. Like,
wait a minute, hold on, no. Let me stop you there.
Okay.
I always thought dwarven women were supposed to have beards, and this was like a black chick that didn't have a beard.
No, that was a joke. There was a joke about that in the Lord of the Rings. I don't know if canonically, but no, that was there was like a line in the Lord of the Rings trilogy where I don't remember exactly how it goes, but Gimli's was saying is like he's like yeah, and there's this misconception that dwarves, there are no dwarven women and we just sprout out from the mountains, but like we have dwarven women, sometimes they're just hard to tell apart. And then Legolas was like, it's the beards.
Oh man,
he's just memeing on him.
Oh,
But okay, let me just cut to the chase of what I'm trying to say. I also have a problem that I don't think like the elves look like elves, and that also pisses me off. But because of the fact that I'm not racist, it's not that they're black or Mexican or white or whatever. I don't care about that. But like I feel like elves are supposed to be like tall and thin and kind of angular, like graceful. You know, dwarves are short, stocky. Like as long as they kind of fit into that, like it doesn't really take me out of it. Like what ethnicity the actors are.
Yeah.
But like, hey, motherfuckers! You had a $720 million budget. Can we not cast like Zendaya as an elf?
Yeah, like her body type, her like litheness and skinny and tall,
graceful, and like kind of like ethereal. Because one of the biggest castings that took me out of it was like there was a Caucasian guy that got cast as an elf to be like the I don't know, he's like the head of all the elves that were like, you know, guarding the Southlands. And I'm looking at him like, dude, like you fucking look old. Like you look like you're like a day laborer in like central Pennsylvania. Like he's a kind of like wrinkled face, and he's not particularly graceful or anything like that. I'm like, you do not look like an elf.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah, I don't know which character you're referring to, but you know, I wasn't deterred by any Asian elves or otherwise, or black elves or black dwarves or who gives a shit.
No, I don't care about that. I just want them to be. I want elves to be tall and thin and graceful with like angular features.
Yeah.
Like be it Zendaya, Timothy Chalamet, perfect elf.
Timothy Chalamet.
I mean, if like you know what, you film Dune on Monday, film Power Rings on Tuesday. Perfect.
I'm actually kind of happy that they didn't cast like super duper well known like people that you would otherwise recognize. Like it just doesn't deter the story as long as they're good actors. And so far all of them have done a pretty. None of the acting is like had me roll my eyes.
No, the acting's been fine.
So.
I just and I'm not speaking about those actors specifically, but I think it would have been super easy to find people that would really sell the traits of those different mythological fantasy races.
Yeah.
And with the dwarves, perfect. Like the I don't know the actress's name that played the dwarven queen, or I don't know, I guess she was a queen, he was a prince, but like Durin's wife. Like I think she killed it. She
did fantastic.
Yeah, and to me I'm like, yeah, that's like a dwarven woman. Like I'm on board with that. I get it. Same with the hobbits. But for something about the elves, they're like they just couldn't. Maybe that body type's hard. I don't know. But that took me out of it. But okay. So Mondo, this is the last thing.
Okay.
Let's play a little bit of fantasy interracial matchmaker.
Fantasy interracial matchmaker. Okay.
Because we've got the four. Are they species?
Sure.
Or are they races? It's a little confusing.
Races, whatever.
Well, because we refer to races in the real world as just people with like very, very slightly different like skin colors and attributes.
Yeah.
But it's not like like Mexicans live 400 years longer than white people.
That wouldn't be true.
No.
We eat too many tortillas for that shit to happen.
I mean, I guess if you're trying to be accurate, like I guess like black people do live a little bit shorter than white people, but I don't know if that's quite for the same reasons as in the Lord of the Rings. That's maybe more of like a nutritional and law enforcement reason. But
you mean chitlins aren't in the top of the food?
Jesus.
Chitlins and watermelon and fried chicken and fucking the down south food isn't healthy for you?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if KFC is the elixir of life.
Oh shit, you're a dick. I'm a dick.
You started it. I finished it. Fuck you.
I'll take credit for that.
But we've already had the one pairing, like the elf male to the human female.
Okay.
But what are the other? Because you could have elf male,
oh dude,
human female. human
No,
female to
I would like to see an elven female, a hot elven, like tall, like you said, like a Zendaya's a pretty good example, but I like a little more curves. But like a hot, tall, female elf. What? Well, I mean, it'd be funnier with like a a male dwarf, but I think no, I like just like a human male.
Well, so that's the one that in this sort of elf human thing is a trope in fantasies that happens a lot. That comes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost always a human male and an elf female.
Yeah, it's Aragorn and what the fuck's her name?
Arwen.
Arwen, yeah. So that would be the one for me, like that. But I think it's because we're human males and we like.
Yeah, we're like, oh, we want to fuck an elf.
We want to fuck a hot elf. Like, how many of us want to bang a fucking dwarven female? Like, we don't.
I mean,
Kim
Kardashian is popular, so maybe.
Yeah,
right?
There's some people that like dwarves. You're right.
Society
or
has
Snooki.
shifted.
Snooki.
Snooki is more of a hobbit.
Okay, sure.
Kim Kardashian, dwarf, Snooki, hobbit.
Dude, if Kim Kardashian
Hobbit's Gone Wild.
Oh my god. Gross.
So yeah, that has, cause actually it is funny. You remember that used to be like a meme before there were memes where it's like, does this dress make my butt look big? And now women are like, how do I get a dress that makes my butt look big?
Yeah.
That whole dynamic has shifted a little bit, huh?
Yep.
All the white girls doing booty squats trying to get big butts.
Yes, sir.
So maybe hold on, Mondo.
A human male and a dwarven female?
What about what if we just go completely off a dwarven male, or sorry, an elf male and a dwarven female? It's like twink dwarf to big booty, or sorry, twink elf to big booty dwarf. That's what I was trying to say.
Interesting.
How does that couple dynamic even work? Because the elves are just like a little bit. They're a little bit fancy.
Well, you said it already, twink elf, so he's probably not 100% like maybe he has a bisexual. A bisexual male elf.
Is it? I'm not sure if this is canon in Tolkien's lore, but like all elves are at least a little bit gay. Are we?
So they're bi.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
or in these days, what the fuck is the pansexual, where you just fuck everything? I think that's what it is. I think that's what I heard it is called now these days, where you're like, where you don't have.
They see a young tree sapling that's particularly attractive, and they're like, oh,
put your dick in whatever. I guess I don't know.
So that is an interesting matching, don't you think?
Yeah.
Elven male, dwarf female.
Yeah.
Like, how does that couple even get along?
I don't know, dude.
They're at a dinner party, and the dwarf female's like just like kind of raucous, and she's like, all right, like, I'm getting horny, let's go bang. And he's like, no, there's company.
Oh Jesus.
So
to wrap this episode up, we're running a little long here. To wrap this episode up, NFL is back. That's why I'm wearing all my Chargers shit. They're about to play in a little bit. Go Chargers. I won a lot of money last night. Not a lot. I won a decent amount of money when Nate beat Ferguson and all that fiasco. But all in all, things have been gravy. My company put me on the company spotlight on their web page, on their website. So it's like a page dedicated to Armando. Look, Armando Ramirez, biography, blah, 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 blah. I guess it's like the kind of equivalent to Employee of the Month, sort of, kind of. Anyway, but do you have anything else you want to add to the thingy?
Nah.
No?
Nah, I'm just going to go home and really dive down into what races need to fuck each other. I feel like there's a lot more important research to be done in that realm. And guys, don't worry. If you want to find out more, you're just going to have to search for my blog that doesn't exist, but I'll get right on that.
We hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thanks for patiently waiting for this one after a little bit brief hiatus. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys in a week. Bye-bye.